Bounded by its ancient walls, this tiny patch of land has, for millennia, borne a power that has spread far beyond them. The stories of the three Abrahamic faiths have Jerusalem at their heart, and the history of their sometimes tolerant, often bloody relationship has soaked into the stones. A walk westward along the Via Dolorosa, where Christ carried his cross, brings you, after some twists and turns, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's here where Jesus is said to have been brought down from the cross, his body cleaned and entombed, before his resurrection 3 days later. George HENTLIAN took over from his father as secretary to the Armenian Patriarchate, one of 3 denominations that manages the site. He's had a bond with the place since boyhood.
This is the central monument of the Christians in the world. I think 2 billion Christians, whether they are Protestant or Orthodox and Catholic, see in this place as the most important place where, rightfully so, because the defining moments of the last week of Christ took place within this building.
But he says it's part of a larger religious monument, the city itself, one that shouldn't be politicized.
Suddenly, this signature of Trump makes the issue of Jerusalem contestable. So it's our duty and our mission as residents of Jerusalem, both Israelis and others, to bring this issue of Jerusalem outside contestation.
In his recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the US president spoke of continued freedom of worship for all faiths, with final political borders to be decided. But many here see in the president's unabashed backing of Israel's claim a cementing of Israeli control over Islam's third holiest site.
So this is one of the main entrances to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The mosque itself is run by the Jordanian-backed Islamic Waqf, but the entrances to it are guarded by Israeli forces, and they can restrict access at their will.
Palestinian academic MAHDI ABDUL likens it to a rope being let out and withdrawn on a whim, a feeling magnified by the Trump declaration.
The real thing, which is my nightmare, if Israel today is going to translate such a declaration to implement what they claim sovereignty over the city, meaning to take over the site and to abort my presence and kick us out of the city.
For the Muslim faith, this is the most closely connected place to heaven. Prayers made here have the shortest route to God. That's because it's from here that the Prophet Muhammad himself is said to have ascended to heaven.
We believe that Prophet Muhammad came all the way from Mecca, ascended to heaven, received his revelation. Coming to Jerusalem is a serious historical religious message to us and to the world. We belong here, it's part of us.
It's really when you get up to the level of the skyline here in Jerusalem that you get a full idea of just how concentrated are the markers of the hundreds of years of religious history here. Those grey domes behind me are the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus Christ is believed to have been laid to rest. And just a few hundred meters walk away, you can see the gold of the Dome of the Rock, which is in the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound where Muslims come to pray every Friday. And just beyond that is the Western Wall.
For Jews, the Dome of the Rock sits upon the Temple Mount, site of the first and second Jewish temples. The Western Wall is the closest point at which they can pray, its stones themselves said to be vested with divinity. A rabbi and former opposition member of the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, LIPPMAN, says this place embodies the Jewish connection to God and to Jerusalem.
And for 2,000 years, we were in exile, went from country to country, continent to continent, but 3 times a day, Jews turned towards Jerusalem to pray. Twice a year in the most important moments, we said next year in Jerusalem.
Since seizing East Jerusalem in 1967, Israel has been trying to cement that connection with archaeological work that it says proves the temple's historical existence, but which the United Nations has ruled illegal in occupied territory. For LIPPMAN, it's a necessity to counter rejections of Jewish history here.
When we hear President Trump's declaration, we celebrate the fact that someone, somewhere in the world, is giving recognition to the capital, which has been our capital for 3,000 years, the heart and soul of the Jewish people, our right as an independent country to declare our capital. But he left room open for those negotiations to figure out what exactly that means when we say Jerusalem is the Jewish capital.
For thousands of years, Jerusalem has changed hands, the subject of a continuing struggle for control. This latest chapter in that history has had its narrative shifted by the US president, its eventual resolution seeming only to slip further into the future of this holy city. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, occupied East Jerusalem.